Have you ever done an epic quest to answer an important question? Today we start that quest to answer the most important Stagg Jr question ever. Round 1 of this quest starts now. Hey, and welcome back to Old Fashioned Ways Plus Plus. Today we are not making an old fashioned, but instead we're going to be answering a question that has plagued me for a long time. And so much so that it has become a quest of mine to discover the answer. It is in my nature to be curious, so when I get a thought as epic as this in my head, it is hard for me not to think about it. I have searched long and hard online to find an answer, and every turn seems to lead to a dead end, a partial answer, or just plain clickbait. So I felt it was my responsibility to finally answer this question. You are probably thinking, enough, what is this question? The epic question that I want to answer is, which is the best Stagg Jr ever bottled? So my quest began over a year ago when I decided I'm going to answer this question that has been plaguing my brain. So naturally, the first part of my quest was to acquire all 17 batches of Stagg Jr. Yes, I know there's a batch 18, but remember, batch 18 no longer has Junior. So, as you can see, I have completed this Herculean initial task.
Oh, Hercules.
If you are liking these videos, please hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, comment below on which Stagg Jr batch you believe is the best. Which batches have you tried? In the next part of this monumentous quest, I have invited a few friends to help me taste all 17 batches and decide once and for all which is the best Stagg Jr ever bottled. I'm going to call this Stagg Jr Madness. I am super lucky to have my friends Ryan and AJ from Those Bourbon Guys, Randall from Bourbon Real Talk, and Nathan from Everyday Drinker to help me do this. It would be impossible for me to do this all on my own, and it is only with their help that we'll be able to answer such an important question. I'll leave a link to each of their channels in the description below. Now for the groundwork. We'll be doing this in 2 rounds to make it simple. Round 1 will be elimination round. Each of us gets random samples. All samples are blind. Each bottle was randomly labeled with a letter from A to Q. However, the letter does not coincide with the batch. For example, the letter A could be batch 7, could be batch 10, and not batch 1. Then, everything was entered into a bracket generator to generate round 1 groups. Each group would then get 4 to 5 samples and have the task to eliminate and choose a group winner. The winner will go on to round 2. So let's start round 1. So here in front of me are my 4 random samples. Now, all samples were poured out and labeled by a few family members. So I want to thank you, my wife, Debbie, Becky, and Seth for helping me with this. Everything is blind to me, and I don't even know which letter coincided with which batch. So what I'm going to do is pour some of the sample into each of these glasses and let them start breathing. As you can see, I'm using some glasses from Bourbon Real Talk. He has a great selection online, so if you want, head over to his channel and see what he has for sale. I'm going to start off by nosing each of these. Now, I'm going to admit, my nose is not great. My nose is not all that delicate where I can pick up individual senses and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm going to see much of a difference between each one. So, here we go. Oh my goodness. But this smells incredible. That's just as good as the first one. Honestly, it smells a little bit more alcohol than the first batch. Oh wow. I don't know if the glass makes much of a difference, but I hope not. This one doesn't hit my palate as much as the first 2.
Legit.
See, I do smell it better with this one. Oh, they all smell so good. If I were to rank it just off the nose,
My nose.
these 2 would be in first, this one third, and this one fourth. Now, I don't know which one I choose over the other, and I have to smell them a little bit more. But as I said, my nose is not that sophisticated. So, enough with smelling this. Let's get into the good part. Let's start tasting this. So, my first sample is sample E. probably should have warmed up my palate first with something else, but I didn't. First taste is, always you get that alcohol up front, kind of covers all the way through your tongue. So I'm gonna go in for a second taste. I'm gonna pretend that first taste really wasn't a taste. Ooh. Some butteriness, a little bit of chocolate, and spicy. All right, let's move on to sample 2. Sample 2 for me is F. Now remember, all these were randomly generated, so that's why they're not all gonna be in order. So each group got a randomly generated set. Smelling that again, after tasting the first one, it's funny because I smell butter now and some smokiness. Wow. So this one's a little bit more rye up front. I taste like, I shouldn't say rye, a little bit of spiciness up front, almost like a little bit of a rye. As I said, remember I said this one smelled higher proof? I think this is actually a little bit higher proof than that first one. I still get the alcohol, I get a little bit of that butteriness. There's a little bit of chocolate and I want to say clove in there. Right. My next sample is sample L. As I said, this one is not as much on the nose. Okay. On the palate too, it's a lot milder. A little bit of musk taste to it. Very different than the other two. So not as much complexity as the other two had. It seems to go from like musky to a little bit of butter, has some spiciness, not as spicy as the other two. I would think this one is also lower proof. I know most of these are high proof and not much of a difference in proof, but from that I would say this is a little bit lower proof. So the last sample I have is sample O. Smells so good. It smells like the first two almost, where I get a lot more up front in that smell, unlike this one that seems to be a lot less. Oh wow. Okay, this one's really, really different. It was like a soft velvet over my tongue. Like I felt it, even though I've had those other ones already coat the tongue, this one felt like it coated, like it was thicker, kind of stuck to my tongue more. So it has more of a velvety texture over my tongue. It does have a little bit of that musky taste that my third sample had, but I really quickly get into a buttery note, and it kind of stays buttery, and I feel like that's kind of what coats my tongue. And it gets into a little bit of clove and a hint of like a nut at the end there. So I'm gonna cleanse my palate and go through this one more time from back to front. I'm gonna fast forward through all of this. Now, I already kind of have my idea of where I'm going to be placing all of these. However, I want to do one more thing before I do that. I do want to add 2 drops of water to each one. And let's see what opens up with this. So after adding that water, it did open up a few of the things. It helped me narrow it down a little bit more. So I still have to go through this one more time and figure out my exact selection, but I already know that this one's gonna be number 4 for me. So L is my last place today. So that one is completely eliminated. Now I'm looking at these last 3. So far, these 2 on the outside are my favorite, and this is probably gonna be my 3rd, but let me try it again one more time. So like I said, this is definitely going to be my 3rd. F is my 3rd place. Now, let's see what I have between these 2. One more round. I don't want to waste anything. This was actually a little bit harder than I thought it would be. Well, I knew it was going to be hard, but even harder than I thought it would be. At first, when I first went through these, I really thought I liked this one more. I liked the way it coated my tongue. I liked the velvetiness and that flavor. But as I tasted it more and I added the water, that muskiness that I tasted in the beginning started to come out a little bit more. And that's actually kind of what pushed it down. So the winner here is Sample E. Wow, what a struggle. The sacrifices I have to make to come up with the answer for this. So now that I have my winner, make sure to head over to the Bourbon Guys, Bourbon Real Talk, and the Everyday Drinker to see who they eliminated and who their winner is that's gonna move on to the next round. Also make sure to hit that notification bell and not to miss out on round 2 to find out the answer of which is the best Stagg Jr ever bottled. Thank you for joining me again, and cheers.